Okay guys, welcome back. We are going to be painting our canvas the um, the blue color, or I'm using peacock, but you could use whatever color you want. It's pretty much a turquoise color. So we're going to be doing that. So I'm going to get my wider brush and I'm just going to be painting my canvas. I love this color, it's so pretty. So just paint it whatever color you want. But I do recommend this color, or at least this shade. Okay, we're pretty much going to use all the same colors that we used for the other one, for this one, except for this color here. And I'm going to lift this up so I don't get my easel. Okay. Got some little bristles coming off this brush here. Okay, so we got that done, and while it's still a little wet, I'm going to do a little bit of white on there, kind of like the other one. So let me get a little, oh, and I always manage to get paint all over me. That's just the name of the game. Okay, so I just put a little white on my plate. I've got my plate right here. So I'm just going to dab a little bit of my brush in there. And just kind of, you can put as little or as much as you want. Okay. Like I said, put as much or as little as you want. And I'm just going to kind of stop right there. So we're going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and we're going to put our pattern on here. So come on back. Okay, guys, we are back. I went ahead and traced my snowman on there like we did before with the other one. So whichever way you traced your first one, you can trace this one the same way. So we are going to start with his face, and since I already have white on my plate here, that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to get my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and paint his face. This is that same 1/4-inch brush that I was using on the other one, but you use whatever brush you're comfortable with. Alrighty. And if you get out of, if you don't like what you've painted, or you get out of the line more than you wanted, you can always come back with your other color and touch up after you're done. So don't stress over that. And by the time you're done doing everything else, you probably won't even notice it. Like I said, normally when I paint these, I I don't use a pattern like this. I just kind of, I might scribble something on with a pencil to kind of center it, but I usually don't use a pattern, or if I do, it's very minimal. But most of the time, I just draw it on there or kind of eyeball it. All right. Okay. So we got the body and we got the head. And then we're going to go ahead. This is not really a cover. We're going to go ahead and do the legs. So I'm going to do the legs solid white, and then when we get to that point, we'll come back with the red lines. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this flat so I can cover this a little bit better. And normally what ends up happening is when I get to this point here, I'm just going to get my liner brush so I can work the little grooves a little bit better. And take your time painting. It's not a race, so just enjoy it. normally when I'm painting, sometimes I'm listening to some podcasts or listening to some audible books, or sometimes watching YouTube. Because I enjoy it very much. And everybody has their own style, so there's never a right or wrong way of doing anything. What works for you, works for you. Yeah, the little narrow curvy part, you definitely want to use just a thinner brush, smaller brush. I need to shut this fan off because it's actually drying up my paint pretty quick. Okay, so I got my little legs, body, and head done. And now we're going to do that big hat. And we're going to use black for that. All right, so let me get a bigger brush for this hat. And actually, I'll put this back up here. Okay. And I'm going to use a narrow brush for this little rim right there. Get my little liner brush for that little tip right there. Okay. We got his little rim. Or brim, I should say. Okay. Look at my, okay, I'm going to stop right here And we're going to come back and we're going to do his face. All right, come on back. Okay, so we're going to do his face pretty much the same way we did the other one. We're going to take a dry brush. We're going to dip it in the red. And then I like to take my cloth and kind of rub off that extra. I'm going to go ahead and put it on his face. And sometimes I just rub it again off my cloth and just add a little bit more. Just like that. Very subtle. You can go darker if you want, but I want to keep his just a little subtle. And there you go. And you always have more control when you use a dry brush to do this, to do that dry brush painting, because in this way you can always darken it. It's very hard to make it lighter. So just keep that in mind. All right, and then I always like to go and do the nose. So we're going to do the nose with some orange. I'm going to use the same orange we used for the other one because that's what's right here handy. All right. So I'm going to take my little 1/4-inch brush. I'm going to give him just a funky, whimsical little nose. They all don't have to be pointy, straight. There you go. I like his nose. Look how cute. So you do your nose whichever way you're comfortable, but I like that. Okay, and while we've got the red here, I'm going to go ahead and paint his scarf on. So I'm just going to take it, I'm going to go around his neck like this, and then I'm going to come down. Just like that. Very easy, very simple. And you can make it darker. I think I'm going to leave mine that color. I like it like that. But you can make it darker. You can go back on it again. We're going to highlight it a little bit, but there you go. Cute little ribbon. And then we're also going to take it and we're going to put it across his hat right here. Nice little muted. Just a nice little muted band around his hat right there. Okay. All right. Now we're going to give him some eyes. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm looking for, I think I'm going to use the back of this pencil. Let's see. Oh, no, that's too big. We're going to go with this one, the back of my brush. I'm just going to use my black. And there we go. And then I'm going to give him just some thin little eyebrows. There you go. And then we're going to do his mouth. There you go. Very simple. Alrighty, so we're going to let this dry a little bit, then we're going to come back and we're going to do the next step. All right, we are back. So I have this pencil here. It's a chalk pencil. And so I went ahead and just freehanded my arm. I want my arm to be right there. So I just kind of drew in. Let me bring it closer so you can see it. I drew in my arm right there just to give you a little guideline. I also drew my 3 little holly leaves. And then I wanted my berries to go right there. And then my little tree, I just drew a little, kind of like a stick really, with some little limbs coming out of it. And since he's a little further away from the tree than the other one, I went ahead and made his arm just kind of come and almost like it's on his hip area. But if you have something where the tree's a little closer, then you can have his arm kind of go around the tree and back. But I thought this was pretty cute like this. So that's what I did here. And you could do this with a pencil, but I saw this, I had it on my desk right here. So yeah, so this is a pastel chalk. And it did come in a set of different colors, but this was the white. And it does have an eraser on the back. I will put a link to these if I find it. I've had these for quite a long time, but I'll put a link to it. Okay, so now we are going to be, let's go ahead and do the holly leaves. Just going to use my liner brush. And all I'm doing is outlining that white, covering it with the green. And just always keep in mind, each one you do is always going to come out a little different. That's what makes it unique and fun. So it doesn't always have to be the same each time. Okay, so we got our holly leaves painted in. And then we can go ahead and put our arms in. I use the burnt umber for the arms. And that is just a brown. And there you go. Little arms. He's coming together. Looking pretty cute. And then we can do the tree also. There we go. All right. And now we can, actually, while I've got my black over here, I'm going to go ahead and outline my nose just a little. And it doesn't have to be solid. It can be kind of broken up a little bit like that. Okay. And then we can go ahead and highlight the hat a little bit. So I'm going to dip my brush in the water. I'm going to side load it on the white. Get it to the camera here so you can see. And then it's going to kind of give you that runny kind of look. And then I'm just going to do the top of his hat. Come down. Go across his band a little bit. Like that. And then you can, I don't know, do a little bit this way too if you like. I'm going to give it a little tiny bit. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the black. Dip it just a little on the black. And then I'm going to do her or his I'm going to do his bow or his scarf, I should say. Just kind of give it a little bit more definition. There we go. And then we can do the same thing, add a little bit of water, go back to the white. And then just a little highlight on the scarf again. Very subtle, very little. There we go. All right. And then we could take our white again, and I'm not showing you my plate because all I'm doing is I'm just dipping my brush in the white. So I'm going to do the white again, dipping it in my white. I just want that little dip right there. So your brush is not totally covered. And then I'm going to take that tree. Just going to give it a little hint of that white. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then we can do the same thing with this big tree. That's still kind of wet. Try to go the other way. This one's still a little wet. It's just pulling it. I'm going to wait until it dries a little bit more before I do the tree here. All right, so let me cut it off here and let's come on back for the next step. All right, so I went ahead and added my berries. I just used the back of my pencil, dipped it in my red, and did my berries. So I think I'm going to do the same thing with my buttons. There we go. All right. And I was waiting for my green to dry a little, but it's still a little wet. So let's hold off on my green right there. So we're going to go ahead and line his body. So I'm going to take my black, my liner brush, and I am just going to line his face. I'll line his body. There we go. And then I kind of like to do like a little line there, and then like a little line there. You don't have to do these, but I kind of do. And you can even do one next to the scarf. Okay. So we got that done. Then I guess, let me see. I'm going to add a little more brown to this up here. This kind of came off. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is, even though that brown is not dry yet, we're going to add the green, and then we can come back and do a little white highlight. So I'm going to take my green, and then I'm just going to start doing just some little sprigs of these little pine leaves here. And this is all I'm doing, is just all I'm doing. See, I want to have another brown one over here, so I'm just going to add another brown. And I just dipped my green right into that brown. Just trying to hold it up here so you can get a better look here. And you can make this as full as you want. There we go. How pretty. And then you can just add a little white. Let's see, I think my white is kind of dry. Let me put a little more white on here. All right. Let me see if I can turn this. I don't have to keep picking it up. So I'm just going to do some little sprigs of white in there. And the more you just kind of let your hand flow with these little curlicues here, or whatever you want to call them, little pine needles, the easier it is to do these. Look how pretty. So what I was saying is if this was a little closer, then his arm could actually be wrapped around it, but since it's a little further away, it's not. But if you're doing it and your tree's a little closer, then you can have his little arm just wrap around that tree. All right, and I'm just going to take a little more of my white. There we go. There you go. Look how pretty. All right. So now we're going to go back to these holly leaves. Okay. So let me get my 1/4 inch brush. I'm going to dip it in my water. I'm going to dip it in my white. And we're going to do a little highlighting on these leaves right here. Nope. Make sure you dab your water when you dip it in your water and then dip it in your paint, because you don't want it to start running down your your picture. And all we're doing is just a little highlighting on these little holly leaves. All right. Okay, so then what I like to do, this is my personal preference, you don't have to do this, but I like then going back, I take my white, take my liner brush, and then I kind of, actually kind of just kind of go out of the lines and then just kind of, I don't know what you would want to call this, kind of give it a little extra lining, I guess, liner work, I guess if you want to call it that, but I like doing that. Okay, and then we're going to do, let's go ahead and do some dots over here for the tree. So I'm going to do some red, and I'm going to use my pencil again, I guess. And these are kind of a little, maybe a few little Christmas balls on here. Not too many. And then I'm going to do a little bit of white. Okay, very cute. And let's see. All right, so really the last thing we're going to be doing is the stripes on his legs. So that's really the last thing. So I'm going to, oh, let me cut this off. I always don't want to make this over 10 minutes or so, but let me cut this off. I'm going to come back. We're going to work on his stripes on his legs. All right, guys, so I did my legs. Look how cute. Just did my stripes all the way down. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my little white. I'm going to leave it down like this because it's a little easier to do. So I am going to do my little white dots on the ends of my shoes. Here we go. Awfully cute. And I'm going to let that dry just for a few more minutes because I'm going to line that with a little bit of black, but I'm just going to let it dry a little bit. And then we're going to take our white with our dots, and then we're just going to dot in different areas. I need to find my bigger stylus because it's so much better for making these, but I'm just putting dots wherever I feel I need a dot. And I'm just putting dots in different places. A few dots on his hat. Okay, look how cute. And then I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to, with my dots, and I'm going to line that just real quickly I really kind of should have done the lining before I put those dots at the end, but that's okay. And I'm going to leave it flat. But all I'm doing is I'm dipping my paint or my brush, my liner brush, in my black. And I'm just going to lightly line my legs here. So yeah, I would suggest you line this before you do the dots, just so you don't put your hands on it. Okay, and that's all I did. I just lined the legs. Super cute. And then what I like to do again, I like to take my white and then just kind of dip it in my white, or my liner in my white, and then just kind of just do some little lines. And again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just think it adds just a little bit more whimsicalness to it. A little whimsy. And that's all. Just a little line here and there. Okay. And then at this point, if you want to do some more dots, go ahead and do some more dots. And I might do a few more since I stopped down here. All right. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my toothbrush like we did before, and we're going to do some speckling. Okay. So I'm going to take my brush. Let me see if it'll work this time a little better than yesterday, because yesterday I had to wet it. So let's see. So that's all I'm doing is just kind of giving it a little speckle of white. And you can do as much as little as you want. All right, I'm going to give this a minute to dry, and then we're going to come back and we're just going to do the last step, and we are going to be done. All right, guys, I went ahead and I just took it outside and sprayed it, and put some diamond dust on it. And there we go. Look how pretty it looks. I hope you enjoyed doing this. Please make sure you post your pictures when you get them done. But look how beautiful. So we had this one, and we had this one. So pretty. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to do this, and I'm sure I will have more that I'll be doing. But yeah, I think it came out adorable. So anyway, I hope to see you soon. Let me let this dry. And you can always join my subscription group, my monthly subscription group. It's $4.99 a month. And I always have new projects in there on a pretty regular basis, sometimes two, sometimes three a month. Um, these are special. These are just ones that sometimes people don't want to join a subscription, but they want to learn how to paint. So these are just some of the things that I offer every once in a while to where you can do two of them for $10. So anyway, I hope to see you soon and have a great evening.